Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Bungo. Since I've been looking at the Colombo, Vermont a little bit as well, but Colombo getting its legendary upgrade, 6% dispersion, 0.1 sigma, it got me thinking about Bungo again and this incredible spotter plane, 20% better dispersion. Although if that one shell disperses out and gets us a citadel, who needs good dispersion, right? Feels bad, right? That's the kind of salvo I do not want. I actually don't want damage there. That feels kind of bad to me. Not deserved, I suppose. But Bungo here with its spotter plane is incredible at tier 10. If you haven't seen it before or you haven't played it before, this is definitely one to think about getting. Similar to Vermont, the salvo damage, you're holding your shot. In Vermont, you're holding on to your spotter plane. In Bungo, more likely, waiting for that perfect opportunity to get a dev strike on an enemy ship. 20% dispersion buff is insane. Sure, you're starting off with the battleship dispersion table, not battle cruiser, but 20% is crazy on a ship like this. We also get 2.2 sigma, so that is the tendency for those shells to go towards the center of your dispersion ellipse. So we got ourselves pretty accurate salvos. Nearly dev striking a full health Des Moines with only our back 3 turrets. Unfortunately, I mispositioned and was not able to shoot my front guns over that island. But we're still probably going to be taking them out. Our entire team is on the A cap here. I'm playing with John and BFK in this one. Definitely go check them out on Twitch especially. Very good content creators for this game as well. Here, looking for the Brisbane, but not necessarily seeing it. Perhaps there's a carrier, though. You see that midway on the minimap? Perhaps he hasn't got away in time. This spotter plane does go down, though. This is the unfortunate part about playing Bungo. You get this incredible 20% dispersion buff, and it's not permanent. So when it's not up, this ship feels kind of bad. It's fine. In fact, it's very good still. Even without the spotter plane, this ship is incredible. But my silly brain gets used to things, and it gets used to the improved dispersion with this spotter plane very, very quickly. So we don't quite take out the midway. That's okay. We'll probably get another chance. Besides, we got ourselves a Brisbane to take a look at here. Turning broadside, perhaps to kill our gearing, I suppose, or to torp things. So we're going to just dev strike them. Perhaps not too surprising, a broadside Minotaur hull. Not the most difficult ship to dev strike, especially at these ranges, but still, the consistency is what we're looking for. I value that incredibly highly on a tier 10 battleship, and Bungo will bring that. Front guns only, not the best salvo, but that's okay. We'll have another one soon. Our spotter almost back up off cooldown. Very, very convenient that we can reduce the reload rate of this spotter plane with some of our commander builds, which we'll take a look at later. And I'm not popping it here. I am very greedy, guys. So when the turrets aren't all turned, I'm not going to use the spotter because I'm not getting the full value. In this case, it does not matter. So we do get the citadel and clean up the midway. Already up to 150k damage, and it's still a close game. Not a blowout. You love to see it. And we get absolutely smashed by the enemy Bungo. So you get 457mm main guns here, 30mm of overmatch. And Bungo is a battleship, yes, but it's more of a battle cruiser battleship. It's a little bit odd, but your bow and stern are not 32mm plating. So you can get overmatched with other battleships of your same tier. I believe it's 25, could be 27, but I think it's 25. We'll take a look at the armor a little bit later. Not quite using our spotter plane there again on Bungo. I'm worried about him disappearing. And guess what? My main guns aren't turned, so I'm not using the spotter. I probably need to use it more, a little bit like French ships with their reload boosters. We really should be using all of these spotter planes throughout a game. If you ever have a spotter plane on your ship available at the end of the match, well, you didn't get the full value out of your ship, is what it comes down to, much like those reload boosters on French ships in particular. Bourgogne, Henry, Clobert, those reload boosters are incredibly powerful. And you're just leaving damage on the board when you're not using them, similar to this spotter plane. And I should mention, since I have been talking about it in some of these other videos where using spotter plane to get a little more range, data mining, some of the accuracy there, It's a small minor buff to your accuracy, very minor, so small that nobody noticed until we got a data mine through a few years ago. This is a very different spotter plane. This is immediately noticeable type of dispersion, and it is very, very fun to play with. Yep, our rear gun's got a double sit on that Hindenburg all the way back there. It's crazy, man. It is absolutely wild what this ship can accomplish. I will say the AP is a little bit weak for 457s. 13,500 alpha means that for a 457 mil gun, you're a little bit low. That's similar to Montana with its 406s. And your pen is also similar to Monty pen. So it's not quite the 457 caliber battleship. Think of it like some of those mid-tier Japanese battleships that are essentially what, an Amagi at tier 7 or a Nagato at tier 6, like Mutsu, for example. The shells are a little bit different. They don't quite have the alpha. They don't quite have the pen. That's how I would look at these 457s. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad, since, I mean, they're doing incredible damage here. I'm a little bit greedy with the build. You might notice the AP is doing a little bit more than 13,500 per Citadel. I'm using heavy AP on this ship. You have great concealment here. This is one of the better concealed battleships at tier 10. Second only to Incomparable, which isn't a particularly fair comparison since that ship is so insane with its detection. So pretty close to the best concealment you can get here with a spotter plane with such devastating firepower. 10 guns instead of 8 means you are going to be just that little touch more consistent, getting us up to nearly 250,000 damage and winning this game. Certainly nice to have close matches these days, not always a guarantee. Bungo can steamroll some games early with its incredible damage output and accuracy. This spotter plane here really is good at punishing mistakes. Cleveland, I mean, that is not an advisable position, but still, this is something where we might get overpens. We might just get aim bugs. Nope, not with Bungo. I did a terrible job with the camera there, sorry. So we didn't quite see it, but still a dev strike on a Cleveland. Maybe not the most surprising, but it's consistency we're looking for. And if you're interested in a consistent battleship, good concealment, solid speed, still goes 30 knots. Very nice to have that. You can play this a little bit aggressively at times, but I wouldn't play it so aggressively that you're consistently spotted. Unfortunately, we get the overpens there on the Hindenburg, but I mean, we didn't have our spotter plane up and we still had a pretty solid salvo. Overmatching 30 millimeters, Hindenburg doesn't really have armor that can hold up to that. But with this salvo, I gotta come clean. I messed up a little bit. I did not check my build before this game. It was good build in the other game. It's gonna be a good build in the last game I have to show for you. But look at that dispersion. That is not Bungo. Do we complain about that? Well, when I went and checked my build, guess what I was running? I had a full secondary build. I changed my commander over, but totally forgot to change the upgrade modules. No, it is not a recommended build at all, but it is interesting to see the accuracy and the firepower we can have, even when we're not fully buffing our dispersion. Another Cleveland, nearly one shot yet again. Still, even though I'm trolling with the build, I think I was running the secondaries for some brawl event, or maybe someone put me up to it on stream. I don't know. It is not a good build. The ship is so powerful with its main guns, concealment-wise. You really want to play just on the edge of your concealment. That's where Bungo is going to be at its best. 10 to 15 kilometers. It's one of those mid-range battleships. Sure, it can be good at closer ranges too, and not too bad at further ranges. That's a dead Iparanga. Yes, Citadels on a Pan-American battleship. Kind of rare, eh? We do manage to get through that. Bungo will be receiving a buff, actually. I should mention that as well. The HE shells will be the same trajectory as the AP shells. Right now, the HE shells are incredibly slow. They lose a ton of speed at range and are almost unusable at like 18, 20 kilometers, where you're probably interested in using them against those angled battleships at longer ranges. It's really difficult to lead the HE. Part of the reason I'm not using it here, but also, again, I'm greedy for the dev strikes, greedy for those black ribbons, so I probably overuse AP, and I'm too stubborn to swap to the HE, when it would be quite good. In fact, HE Bungo is incredible. You've got immense alpha damage, 7,300 alpha damage on Bungo HE. That is crazy. Conqueror has 7,200. You have higher HE alpha than a Conqueror. 2 fewer guns, but you're way more accurate. And soon to be, the shell velocity will be usable. Really nice as well that they're matching it to the AP. So once you get your lead down on this ship with the AP, it's going to feel the same with the HE. Although I do think you should be shooting mostly AP. I will push that a little bit, even though I don't use the HE as much as I should. The AP, man, these dev strikes, it's so nice. You actually get okay pen as well, 77 millimeters of pen with that high explosive. So you're getting through most battleships, upper belt, deck armor as well. 35% fire chance is not amazing, but considering the number of shells you're going to hit, you should be landing quite a few fires as well. So nice to see that buff come through. Next update. So we got to wait a little bit, and I will play it. Don't worry. There's so many ships. It's incredible how many ships they are buffing or changing here. So I'm very excited to take a look at some of them. Italian DDs might be a little more playable, or in my opinion, more playable, more fun. There's a lot there. Very excited to take a look at them. Azuma is going to turn broadside, and I shoot my main guns, my front guns, in fact. Probably shouldn't have done that. I'm talking about how you want to be a little bit patient, and then I'm not patient there at all. At least I'm not going to greed out a full salvo with my rear guns or with this spotter plane. So we get the rear guns through on the Azuma, and that dispersion is decent. Certainly could be improved if I wasn't trolling on the build in this game, but it still gets us that Citadel and just immense damage output with this thing. Similar to a Vermont, the salvos are incredibly impactful. You got to be very concerned about a Bungo on your flank, and we do manage to finish him off up to 172,000 damage. This ship is not as tanky as a Vermont, but I do value the reload over the Vermont. It's really nice. If you're playing the Vermont or you're looking at Vermont gameplay and you're thinking to yourself, man, it would be fun to get those dev strikes, but I can't stand a 40-second reload. Bungo is a very good option for you then, because you have a standard, better reload, and even though you don't have that insane accuracy all the time, you can save it for those opportune moments and really have a blast with this ship. Notice against the Yamato here, even though I'm thinking about aiming for Citadels, maybe the Cheek Citadel, or when he was more broadside, his belt armor was too thick. We just literally could not pen the Yamato at those ranges, 14, 15 kilometers. So that is the weak point, I suppose. You're going to be just fine against cruisers, no problem. But we do get some shatters there, as you can see. Still good damage, 17k. Upper belt on Yamato is very weak. Cheek, of course, is what I was going for. Did not quite get it. But now we're in a dilemma, right? Where we've used our spotter plane for that one salvo, and then there's nothing really good to shoot at. I suppose an angled GK is the best we can do. But when our dispersion is very good, German superstructures can be smashed. 71,000 damage is what we're on right now. And what are we going to get? That is 87,000. 16,000 damage, angled GK at like 20 kilometers. That's kind of a lot. That is kind of a lot. This spotter plane is awesome. Yoshino, of course, can be overmatched as well, so we're going to go after him. And now it is time to push. This one was played a little while ago. I was actually playing with Malta, another content creator you should check out for this game. Very, very, very good content creator for World of Warships. Unfortunately, he goes down in his Svea, so it is up to us to push and hopefully get ourselves a little bit more damage. I've been quite passive this game, and we're only, and I know I say that, but only on 100,000 damage, which is still decent, but maybe not as good for maybe a video, you know, a game I want to use in a YouTube video. We even shatter on the GK. That's unfortunate. Certainly could have aimed a little higher there, I suppose, for his upper belt, superstructure pens, that kind of thing. We will not change our aim point and aim probably too low, since we do have that AP that doesn't quite have that pen at these ranges. And yet, double Citadel into a GK at these ranges? What? Triple Citadel even? We just like 50k'd that GK. Bungo is magical. Sometimes it works best if you shout Bungo as you're shooting. I don't think that actually works, but superstitiously on stream, perhaps that could be the way to go. We do get hit pretty hard back, though, from that GK. This ship is not the best armored. Again, I would not be brawling with it. We certainly can die very quickly to HE spam, especially with such a greedy build, Furious, heavy AP. Yes, very, very greedy. You probably shouldn't run it, but I do enjoy these max damage output greed builds. Now coming around this corner, Audacious comes into view. Very nice. Although we are pushing into a crossfire between a GK and a Conqueror with the potential of a carrier. Not exactly where we want to be. Speaking of the AA and an Audacious, you can't really rely on this AA. That was probably obvious, but it does have to be said. The ship does not have very good AA. Do not rely on it. You need to be around your teammates if there's carriers in the game, or hope he doesn't go after you, I suppose, is the other option. Salvo out on the Smolensk, slowing down in his smoke. Quite a predictable move. So even without our spotter plane, we do get a double Citadel Dev Strike. Dev Strikes on Smolensk are rather rare, I find, so very happy to receive that one. And again, no spotter plane with that one. So when we're not trolling with the build, actually running accuracy upgrade, it's still amazing, even without this spotter plane. I love Bungo. I'm singing its praises here. There are problems with it. I'm going to have bad games. I have plenty of bad games in it, don't worry. But it's so fun. This ship is really, really fun. It's not a vanilla battleship. Maybe for beginners, it might be a little too difficult to learn, or as you're traveling up the line, could be a little bit awkward or difficult to play the tier 8 or the tier 9. But if you have a few battleships, you feel confident, or you're just interested in this ship at all, it is definitely one that I would recommend you grind out. It's so much. Look at that dispersion, man. With the spotter plane up, it's so disgusting, man. And it's not a combat instruction either. That's maybe the important part. Unlike a Satsuma, where you got to farm up that combat instruction by hitting close to enemy ships, or hitting enemy ships soon to be, to actually get that buff. This is a consumable. You can first salvo someone with this accuracy, and that is very important because some people might make mistakes in those cruisers early game. Starting with a dev strike is so fun. And at the very least, you will be surprising those cruisers thanks to the concealment on this ship. Even if you don't smash a dev strike off the bat, it's a very, very rewarding ship to play. Although it can be punished. Again, the armor is not great here. Your HP is a little bit low as well, so you do have to be a little bit careful. As I run a very greedy build. Certainly Furious, no fire prevention, heavy AP is a little bit insane. I won't defend that, all right? That is crazy. But I'm greedy, I go for it. Sometimes it does get me killed though, for sure. Definitely would recommend though running fire prevention instead of Furious. I am greedy for heavy AP, but you don't necessarily need it here. The 13.5 alpha is still solid and will get you quite a lot of damage output. Given the dispersion, right, like you saw, a lot of those ships were dead either way, even if you weren't using super heavy AP. I do really want Grease the Gears because they are slow turrets. And if we want to use all of our firepower, sometimes we do have to swap the turrets from side to side. Gunfeeder will be very good with this buff coming to the ship, the HE in particular. So probably do want to run that, although I would not want to give up Consumable Specialist. Getting back to that spotter plane quicker, very, very useful. And I'm also greeting out the Spotter Aircraft Mod 1. That's how I'm able to get multiple salvos per plane. I think it gets me 3, something like that, where otherwise you'd only get 2. But definitely look into getting Spotter Aircraft Mod 1 for this thing. Could be worthwhile. Upping the duration to 84.5 seconds with a decent cooldown timer on that as well. Certainly that 20% dispersion is well worth it. Standard heal here, so nothing too fancy as far as the other consumables go. But that's fine because the ship is already insane enough with that spotter plane gimmick. And yes, it is 32 millimeters of armor everywhere. You don't have the best armor plating here on your belt. And the bow and stern are 25. Okay, I was right. It wasn't 27. So definitely vulnerable to that overmatch. You overmatch yourself. There's no icebreaker here. But fortunately for you, and less so for others in the game, you have a waterline citadel that is somewhat protected here. This is, I mean, it looks like turtleback. It's not going to function as well as turtleback. It's not angled enough. If I go over to, do I have it? Sure, Preussen will work. Notice how angled the Preussens one is, right? You see this angle? That'll actually bounce the shells, the AP shells, up and away from the citadel. Where here, you're going to see it's just not angled enough to do that. So You will still take citadels, but again, it is very waterline, this citadel, if we remove even more armor. So you're not going to take too many, but it is something to be aware of. It's not immune to citadel damage when it goes broadside, especially at mid to longer ranges when there's a bit more plunging fire. We also have the interesting Amagi layout for those of you that really enjoy the Amagi at tier 8, the standard Japanese battleship line. It's a very good one to go for. It's just a better Amagi in basically every way. Maybe not armor as much, I mean, that with those overmatchable sections, but in a kiting position on a flank, and certainly using this 12.1 kilometer detect with these insane guns, it's a fun ship. I really do like this one, and it'll be interesting to see what the HE version has in store for us next year. But even for now, as it stands, the ship is amazing. That spotter plane is crazy. So hope you guys enjoyed. I had a ton of fun playing Bungo for this video, and I hope that comes through. I do want to be positive in a lot of these videos and share that joy I have while playing the game. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.